Greatness. Greatness. Greatness.
What's up, YouTube? On this podcast, we talk about how to rest. Rest is one of the 10 commandments. Honor the Sabbath. What does that look like? What does that look like today? How do you rest? What's the best way to rest? What are the mental benefits of resting? So join us on this podcast. Hop into the comments, leave a thought or a question you have for us. As always, subscribe to this channel, give us a thumbs up, and ring that bell so you can know when we drop more content on this podcast. Started. Welcome to the Renewing the Mind podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Sanchez. Join with me via Zoom from his own house, my dad, Dr. Raul Sanchez. How you doing, Dad?
I'm feeling amazing. Like back in the day at NDSU, we had a saying, those who stay will play. Those who play will be champions. Once a champion, always a champion. There we go, baby.
And there's the ring kiss.
Yes, sir.
On this podcast, it doesn't. On this podcast, we teach you how to renew your perspective, move towards uncertainty, and find what's awesome about that in every situation.
What?
We also talk to you about there's 2 times to be great: when you feel like it and when you don't. Today, we're talking about rest. This idea of what does it mean to rest? Do you feel rested? What are the benefits of rest? How to rest? I'm coming from the side that God tells you to rest. And if God tells us to do something, we believe that you should do that. So I'm going to take a few minutes here and kind of just open up with the intro to rest. Then I'm going to kick it over to Dad. He's going to talk about the mental aspect of rest. What's the best way to rest? We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to end with a couple two points that I got. And then as always, we want to open this up to a conversation in the comments.
Dialogue.
Dialogue. Anything we say that you have questions on, want some more details on, a point you like, let us know. Right on. I don't understand that. That sounds stupid. Whatever you want to comment. And then we, throughout the show, will pop into there and dialogue back and forth with you.
Right.
Sound good?
Yes.
Cool. I'm going to drop a link in the comments.
Okay.
So I don't want to take credit for this. I watched I watched multiple podcasts and multiple YouTube videos, and I listened to some and watched some. And this one I watched because I like Chad Veach. But this podcast is called Leadership Lean In. 15 to 20 minutes. He brings in John Maxwell, Lou Giglio. On this one, your boy Dad, Robert Morris. And so
Blessed life, man. The blessed life.
The blessed life. So on this podcast, I posted it on my story a couple days ago. Probably one of the best podcasts I've listened to for 15 minutes and the most dense content I've had. I've listened to it probably 4 or 5 times. And he brings up 2 points that we're going to discuss. And number 1, rest or the Sabbath is in the 10 commandments. Do we hold it to that same level? Okay. Number 2, he talks about energy is more important than time.
Correct.
And that second point is something I've said before, but I've never been able to put words to it. And this genius. I've expressed it. I've mentioned it. I felt it. And maybe some of you feel the exact same way, but I've never been able to put like the exact words and verbiage to what it is. So let's start with that first point. He goes through this idea, and I encourage you to watch it, but he basically asks the question, do you have plans to murder someone? Do you have plans to commit adultery? And goes through 10 commandments, right? Steal, lie, honor your father and mother, all these things.
And Veach says no and no plans, right?
Yeah, no plans of killing someone. It's hilarious. Yeah, I love Chad.
No and no plans, right?
Yeah.
And then ask me the last question.
Yeah. So then he says, so do you have plans to rest?
He goes, no, but I got plans.
Right. I got plans.
It was funny.
So,
actually.
Exodus 20 is 10 commandments. And we see that he talks about remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. And then it goes into you should not work, you should not, nor should your sons and daughters, nor should male and female servants, nor your animals, and goes through this whole list, right?
Correct.
So I started thinking like, okay, well, we're not still stuck to the old covenant, but we still do honor the 10 commandments, obviously good rules to live by. Jesus, says still honor those. you mentioned right before the show that the veil was torn. So we are in the new covenant with not the morality, but the sacrificial system law is gone. The Exodus law is passed away now, but we still need to honor that.
Correct.
The idea of rest.
And it no longer has to be day 7. Like Old Testament had to be day 7.
You work 6 days in a row, the 7th day.
Correct. Now you have to take a day of rest, but it could be on the 3rd day. It could be on the 1st day. It doesn't have to be on the 7th anymore. So there's a lot more leeway on when you actually take that day of rest. But the goal of Sabbath is a covenant relationship between one person and the Almighty God. So when you take your rest, it's your way of saying, Lord, I set aside my life for you, because to be a believer is that God sanctifies you. He puts you aside and earmarks you to be like his. So when we put our life aside, we earmark God to be mine. So it still is super important.
And it's changed today with society, and we think honor the Sabbath as go to church. Coming from a pastor, even, I've heard that before. I think that's a great thing to do. I don't think that's, and Robert Morris says it, that's not biblical. That's not what it says. They didn't go to church like that. If anything, they went to the temple daily. So to honor the Sabbath is not necessarily saying to go to church. That idea of 10:30 a.m. Sunday service didn't exist for thousands of years. So that idea of we say, oh, it's the day of church. Well, it's really not. It's really a day to rest and to go through that. So that was the first time, not the first time, but it's one of the times where I was like, man, that really stuck to me. I think anyone that tells you, oh, I rest really well, they probably don't. There's not a lot of people that I would say they rest really, really well. If anything, any person you talk to, what is the first thing they say? Oh, super busy. Oh, so busy. Oh, swamped. Oh, just exhausted, And
it's a badge. It's a badge to say, like, I rise and grind. Like, I don't even take a sleep. I only sleep 3 hours. Like, you know?
And so like to be able to, if you talk to someone and they're like, oh yeah, man, I feel very rested.
Yes.
I've never heard someone ever say that.
Correct.
You know what I'm doing? I'm resting very well. Like, no one ever says that. So obviously we all struggle with that. So talk to us about, that's what, go watch the Leadership Lean In. He talks about it a little bit more, but I just want to talk about that idea that if it's a biblical commandment, one of the 10 commandments that God says to rest, not only should we do that, but then what on the mental side of it, the psychology side of it, what does that do for our brain? What does that do? You posted about meditation, taking a mental break. What does that do? How
so the, like, the concordance definition of Sabbath, there's 2 pieces, and it really is like, so think about like half versus full. Sometimes you go to a restaurant and they're like, do you want a half order or a full order, right? If it's lunch, we take a half. If it's dinner, we take a full, hopefully take some home, whatever. That's the kind of concept. So the half Sabbath would be intermission. Like think about halftime. And then the other part of the Sabbath is cessation, like complete stop, like smoking cessation is I never touched one again. Okay, so here's the idea. There are some things on the Sabbath that you absolutely have to stop, like work and emails. Text messages for work, planning for work has to stop because it has to do with work. The intermission thing is like take a break from workouts, but you could take a walk because cessation is that word of exertion. So if you just want to stick with the Sabbath being honoring God, those are some just footstool rules of where you go with that. Okay, so then neuroplasticity is the ability to stretch the brain, to kind of like you lift weights and you stretch your muscle. You lift weights, you take a recovery day. So I say this a lot because it's so important to understand. The best way you measure a true like world-class athlete is how fast they recover. So think about like Tour de France. They go 100 miles in a day, and then they turn around and do it again every single day. Right. So, and they recover. So the faster you recover, that's how fast your body can rest. Okay. So neuroplasticity, the ability to push and then rest. So we work 6 days, rest. You work 4 days, rest. And then you work another, 2 or 3, like that depends on what you're doing. So what does that look like in the brain? So if you take a look at the brain, we know for a fact that people who take a day off have higher productivity. In companies where they force, like every quarter, they force a vacation, those people are more productive. We know that it replenishes your attention because attention is a capacity thing. So like if you have a basket of clothes and you do a load, and then on your way, you decide to do another load, like before you unload it. So now you got 2 loads in it. You go upstairs and unload 1 load. You still have a capacity inside your basket. If you're not fully replenished, or in other words, fully unloaded, How can you reload again? The answer is you can't, because you still have all this residual knowledge in your head. And so you're not doing a correct brain dump, which is you're dumping all that stuff, which takes a day off. Here's what I see mostly with people clinically is it solidifies your memories. If you don't take a day off, your memories run together. So when I talk to people and they haven't seen me in a while, they're like, hey, I don't know if I told you this story or not. And they just tell me a story. And I'm like, yeah, we did that last week, and they'll retell the story. We all laugh about that in our family. Like, we all retell the story because we're talkers.
Yep.
But like,
not all of us, just mainly two people, that are older.
Whatever, bro. You do the same thing too.
That are a little older.
Yeah. I'm guilty, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not doing one.
I know that's mom.
Yeah. I'm a storyteller too. So solidify memories. Okay. And then here's what we talk about as a family. You have to do it to increase your creativity. So now let me just give you a quick picture. The reason you want us to have the Sabbath is to honor God, right? We talked about that. The reason personally why you want to honor God is think about a whiteboard or a chalkboard, and you write on it all week long. Unless you have a wet washcloth to wipe that thing down, there's so much residual junk on there that you can barely even see, especially nowadays when we use our whiteboards, or like behind me now, I got that blackboard.
Yep.
Right. When you just write on it and wipe it off, or write on it and wipe it off, right? It's just all squeegee and must, and the pins don't work very well. Yep. You just get a wet washcloth and you really like
wipe fresh that start
down. It's an absolute clean slate, fresh start. So that's your creative boost. I tell people all the time when they see me like on a Monday, I'm like, how you doing? They're like, oh, dude, it's Monday. And they're like, what happened to you? You look really good. I was like, bro, it's Monday. Right. So like, that's the best day of the week because I'm clean. I'm fresh. I fly. Like, I don't have any issues on Mondays. And Mondays are typically my heaviest day because you got emails, you got phone calls, like a lot of things happens over the weekend. You're adding people to the day. Like, it's super busy, but yet I carry it because I take that rest day. Now, there's a lot of things I can improve on the rest day after this podcast we listen to, because a lot of things we can change.
Yep.
So let me go back over it. Increase productivity. Number one, replenish your attention.
These are the benefits of it.
These are the benefits personally, right?
Yep.
So increase productivity, replenish your attention, solidify your memories so you remember better, and then you improve your creativity. So that's why personally you want to rest, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I hear people talk about who do rest, and I looked up a few authors that I know who write on this area or whatever. So it's like emptying clutter. That's number one. My mind is not full. That's just another one. I get to process old files. You hear this a lot: empty the busyness and the tension of life. And then here's another one: allowing the mind to settle down. So that's how people talk about why you should rest a day, because these are the benefits.
Yep.
So, those of you who know me or our language, we talk about a climb, and then you shed that material that you had in your last climb to empty your backpack for your new climb. So we just went on that archery shoot. I've got a Camelback, so I emptied that out because the last time I used it was hunting. So there's stuff in there I don't need. So I emptied all that out and just put my stuff I need for archery. Like, that's the concept. So you shed all the stuff of the week, and then you empty your backpack to carry new things for the remainder of for that brand new week coming. Yep. So that's where you shed all the stuff that's bogging you down.
And it doesn't even have to be, in that same analogy, it doesn't even have to be a new climb. It could be the same climb, but you need to refresh what you're currently doing. Refill the water bottle per se, get some new snacks, just replenish yourself to do the exact same thing next week, but you're emptied from last week.
Yeah, dude. Okay. Using your analogy right there, like, that's like when we go golfing and you do the turn, which is, 9 holes. Yep. You do the turn. Everybody goes and empties out all your cupboards, all your little spots. We go back in and get new Gatorades, get a candy bar, hot dog, whatever.
New Red Bull.
New Red Bull.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're regrouping. So like, you got all this old junk, and yeah. If you're me, you take out these old sleeves of balls that you lost and you just like throw them because there's nothing.
Yeah,
else.
You chuck the old golf ball and pull out a new one. Like, it's gonna make a difference.
Brand new sleeve. Like, this sleeve is gonna be awesome.
Right. I was shooting the yellow fluorescent golf ball. Now I'm going back to the old school white. Still doesn't work.
I always have to change something up. Yeah. If I don't make a difference, like, mentally, I don't think anything's changed. So
swap your tees out or something.
Yes, I switch my tee. I switch my balls, and then I'm like, okay, this is a new 9. Let's go.
And then you still just shankopotamus.
Correct.
Speaking of shanks, welcome Cam. Cam Fowler just joined. How you doing? Alex Pick, what's up? Norm said that it was her in the family that tells repeat stories.
Norma is the queen.
I don't deny that.
Yeah.
My favorite thing because everyone does it, but it's my favorite's like, oh, did I tell you that time I went to Walmart and, ran into someone? You're like, no, yeah, you told me that. Oh, I know. It's so funny. And then they just keep going, even though you already told them that.
Exactly.
That's my favorite part. It's not that they almost tell you. It's when you tell them they already know it. Then they continue to tell you.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, I literally just told you told me. Anyway,
that's akin to a little kid telling you the punchline of a joke like 16 times.
Oh yeah. Or the same joke over and over and over.
Joke over and over and over because it's so funny.
Right. Can't chill. Okay. So rest. I think all of those apply to my life. I think, I mean, especially when I go into the creative side of it, like with video editing and stuff, there's only so much out, not even just weeks. Let's just do just in small chunks of doing stuff. I'm editing, creative juices are flowing 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. Then there's just like a writer's block, a creative block. The rest in the small scales, we understand that. I'll go take a walk around my house, go some fresh air, refill the coffee, water. And so we get it on that. Like, oh man, I just need to rest. I need to take a break. Alicia sometimes will take a walk around the church outside. Yeah. But when you put that on the big scale of day-to-day stuff, I don't think we do it as well.
There's no way you can't. There's a lot. So like even if you're a good rester, let's say you do actually take the Sabbath, like you actually do have a day where you don't work, you don't do any work. There's no way you could focus on all these pieces because so like a lot of times people will say, how do you know if you are under rested or how do you know if you're overwhelmed or whatever that is? I'll say simple. If you get a great night's sleep, like you get 8 hours, you have plenty of hours, but you still wake up exhausted. You're not rested. Because if you think about you've drained your battery so low that 8 hours isn't going to put you in recovery mode. You're still climbing to get back to normal. So just think about like your phone. If you plug your phone in while you're watching a movie, it's not going to climb as fast as it normally would.
Okay, so let's do this. What do you define as a rest day? Is that just no emails but you mow? Is that the biblical term was no cooking? We talked about you don't cook, you make your meal the day before so you don't have to cook on the day of. Correct. We're not really necessarily held to that. So what does rest in your definition look like as Raul Sanchez?
Right. So my rest would be the shedding piece because I'm more about the emotional energy, right? So the shedding piece is going to be where you say to yourself, like, I'm going to intentionally let people go. I'm going to intentionally let my failures go. I'm going to intentionally let go of that fear, that Wednesday project. I'm going to intentionally let my anger or stress fade away. And then instead, I'm going to intentionally pick up a purpose to be present with my family today. And so those are the days when I would take Valencia and throw her in the back of the little pull behind thing, the little carrier on the bike. And we go to Saratoga and I ride and we put that little Bluetooth speaker in the back of the trailer and we're just jamming and she's just bobbing her head and singing songs and I'm getting a workout in. So for me, that Sabbath was never like, don't work out, don't go outside. I'm a green space, green therapy person. So that's my recovery. But before I do that, I have to shed the emotional pain. Because if I don't shed the emotional energy, the emotional pain, I can't be intentional with my daughter or.
So how do you do that?
You have to actually write some work. So this is where it takes a little bit of work. So you're gonna have to write down something that you're stressful and put it on a piece of paper. Write down something that you're carrying that you're nervous at, put it on a piece of paper. So you're really writing down the problem. Like, I'm nervous about this project I have, or for me personally, like if I had testimony, so I'm like, dude, I'm a little nervous about my testimony. I just want to stick to facts. I don't want to exaggerate. I don't want to add anything. There's no ad-libbing. There's no storytelling. For a storyteller not to tell a story, that's hard. So I really kind of get stressed out about that. So let's say I have one coming up. I put that down. Like I'm stressed about sticking to the fact. And so like I say the whole truth and about the truth kind of deal, boom, put that down. And then what you have to do is you don't process the answer because that takes mental energy. I'm trying to recover. So I dump it. It's a brain dump. I put it down on a piece of paper.
Sure.
By that end of the day,
all your worries or concerns moving forward.
I'm just dropping it. And now I'm intentional. I lay on the floor. I go, for me, it'd be a bike ride. And then I would come back and I would just totally just chill at home, be with the family, watch a movie, eat some popcorn, hang out. Before I go to bed or right after I'm putting Valencia down or whatever, I would look back at that list and then ask just a couple questions like, how do I feel about it? Did I pick it back up? How am I doing? Just check in. You don't have to force an answer. When you try to force an answer, you force a problem solving.
Okay, so
that's when it gets stuck.
Let's throw you under the microscope. Okay. And mom's here.
Okay.
How are you doing that? How often do you dump your emotional, actually attend the Sabbath, the rest day in the last 6 months?
I do pretty good, but what I've been doing is I've been pushing that to Saturday.
So you do your rest day on Saturday.
Yeah. So if you talk to mom, like Saturdays we get up and that's our Saturday chores deal.
That ain't rest. That is not rest.
I said me personally, right?
You said chores.
So Valencia will do her chores. Mom's up cleaning. We do Saturday eggs. So I still think cooking. And we'll go back to this piece about where it hits you. I think cooking's fun. Right? So we cook Saturday eggs. We hang out, but I'll sit in the chair several hours and watch a couple of games, especially now with softball and hockey. I just watch. So I don't do a vigorous workout on Saturday. I didn't mow on Saturday. I really push like that. Saturday isn't anywhere. I don't check any emails. I don't go into the clinic. I got reports. I don't do them. And then on Sunday, since we're up, we shower and shave and go to church. Sometimes we go out to eat. That's already a work day for me, right? So then I mow and I'll do my emails. I do my stuff. So Sunday is more my work day. Saturday is becoming more my Sabbath. And the reason is a heavy day of 9 people a day, 4 or 5 days a week, sometimes 50 clients and a super busy week. Saturday is hard to carry. So already on Saturday, I'm like, bro, I just need to chill. And sometimes, depends on where that is, I still put a workout in there because that helps me recover. Okay. So,
Mom, you're our fact checker. Hop in the comments.
Yeah. Ask her. So do I do more on a Sunday or do I do more on a Saturday?
Be honest, Mom, you can't lie.
Yeah. Right. And then that's been my pattern even before we did this. Like this is your idea, but I was already doing this. So I didn't do Saturday and Sunday that way just because. But let me just.
I don't think it has to be like you said. I don't think it has to be a Saturday or Sunday because let's say you got like, for instance, cameraman Nate. His day off all day is a Wednesday, so then his Sabbath technically should be Wednesday.
Correct.
That's his
full rest. When Jesus tore the veil, we're no longer obligated to do it on Sunday, which is day 7. Right. Or technically speaking, that would have been Saturday, like the old school Sabbath. Okay. But it has to be your Sabbath where you disconnect.
Mom came in.
What'd she say?
You want the results?
Yes. Survey says.
Yeah. Dad always takes a rest day.
Yes. Facts.
All right. You're lucky.
Just so you know, I had somebody ask me
this one.
Just so you know, I had somebody ask me, say, I want I think it was God honest truth or something like that. Like, do you do Botox? I was like, what?
You do Botox?
Do I do Botox?
The camera was blurry. It had to be Zoom.
No,
it wasn't real life.
No. Wrinkly. That's recovery. That's recovery. Okay, so listen. So here's
Cam said his is on Friday. Yeah,
there you go.
That's your rest day.
Yes, correct. Okay, so let's go back to the Sabbath, right? So okay, let's say tomorrow's your very first day. You're like, okay, I'm gonna do this Sabbath, this rest day thing. So just a real couple quick pieces, like. So there's physical, spiritual, emotional, relational, social, sensory. It's like these are all areas where you could be completely overloaded and they spill into another area. So like if I'm spiritually dead, spiritually broken, that's going to move into my emotional. Yep. As soon as I'm emotional, that's going to move into my social. So how do you know? There's a couple quick questions. It's like, and you can research this a little bit more on your own, but like if I'm physically depleted, I'm going to be clumsy. Like think about when you're so sore. We laugh about having squat legs, squat booty. Like you can't even get off the toilet without using a cane, reaching over for the tub, right? When you're physically beat,
grab the wall,
you're clumsy, right? Yep. Okay, you're spiritually beat, right? You're going to be saying things like this, like, man, that music doesn't do it for me anymore. Man, I really can't find a place to feed me. Like nobody feeds me no more. Like that pastor ain't feeding me. That church don't feed me. You're spiritually done. You're overwhelmed. Your basket's full. Your backpack's full. There's no way to put more capacity in there. How are you going to get fed when you're full, right? Emotionally, you're a roller coaster. It's always ups and downs. And just truth be known, when I'm spent, Stacy says, why is it always like this? And she'll go like this. Because I'm really intense. And then I'm like, I don't care. Like whatever you want. Like, and so I'm really intense, have a lot of opinions. And then I'm just like that. So she'll actually say, like, why is it always like this? That's when I know, like, I need rest emotionally. Then relational. So like you're snapping on loved ones who didn't even do it. I could be mad at Tyler, but I could be snapping on Valencia. Okay. Social, like I get anxious in public when I'm no longer like, I'm not even an anxious dude. Why am I anxious in public? Because like, there's a lot of social relationships. Like I don't want to run into people like, oh, I'm going to Shields. I don't want to see Nate or, I'm going to church. I can't bump into Norma, cause we've been struggling or whatever. These are all examples, but I'm just showing you how that looks. And then the last one is sensory, where you're just like, the TV's making you mad, like the radio's making you mad, and you get really judgmental, just like you're just starting to snap. Because you're just like, I can't deal with any of this stress, right? So think about this, like, think of this number, 2,617 times. In a study of like 11,000 people, that's the average amount of people who picked up their phone in a day. 2,617 times. We've already talked about this. People who are seriously depressed are on their phone scrolling for 6 hours or more. Lately, I've been talking to a lot of college kids who are only doing Zoom. They've been on their phones for 9 to 10 hours a day, and they're clinically depressed and suicidal. First thing I check is sleep. Second thing I check is vitamin D and sunlight, exercise. And we heal people just by changing a few move steps.
Sure.
It's nuts. I don't care how smart you are, how strong you are, you're going to crash. None of us are good. So the first thing I want you to do is go through, like, okay, where you're at, where are you broken, or where are you overwhelmed? And that's your first day Sabbath that you got to heal, because it's going to ebb and flow. You can't fix it all in one day, I promise you. And then back to this other concept of what constitutes rest. We no longer have to live by the Old Testament, which means I can't cook. We no longer have to live by the Old Testament, which means, I have to literally not break a sweat. Okay. So you can stop some things like work, and then you can have an intercession on some things. So for me, I used to, like, when I'm really stressed, I come downstairs and shoot my bow, or go to the man cave. It'll be in our little 10-yard shooting range. I'll shoot my bow. So if there was a place I could go drive to, like, the archery barn in Jefferson, South Dakota here, which is about 30 minutes away from me, I could go there and shoot. Now, archery doesn't hurt me. So on that tournament, we shot 60 targets. I wasn't sore at all, except for like the bottom of my calves from in hills and downhills. I kind of stretched my calves a little bit. So it's not a workout. So I wouldn't say I can't go to archery because it exhausts me.
Yep.
On a Sabbath day like that, for me, I wouldn't go to CrossFit. I wouldn't go to the gym. Like, that to me is a workout. I know it seems really weird. I get it. It's just more mental like leeway in your head. I would ride a bike though, go on a bike ride and come back, because that doesn't seem like a workout to me. That's peaceful. So archery would be peaceful to me. Bike riding would be peaceful to me. Going on a run, like, that's not going to happen on a Sabbath.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't mow on the Sabbath because I just wanted to track it. I did do this just because I knew we were going to do the podcast, but I put on my watch when I mowed yesterday. It was 95 degrees and I burned 700 and some calories. I can put it in the chat. And my heart rate got to 126. And I mowed and I bagged. I mowed and bagged just because it's so long, because it's been rainy, and then like 3 days of rain or sun that I couldn't get to the mowing. So that could technically be a workout to you. I would say, to me, mowing's neutral. I don't think it's hard. I don't think it's peaceful. It's just something I have to do.
I jotted down. I mean, I don't think we can define what rest is, because to some people, like your bike ride, that would not be restful. To other people, a nice jog, 3-4 mile jog, might be peaceful. Right. To some people, CrossFit in their mind and their body and what they're used to is a rest, or the way they unload their stress. Gardening, that it seems to me like that would be a nightmare, but to some, that's, they're replenished. I think we talk about that a lot, like what replenishes you, what refills you up, your filling station. To me, that's what the rest day is. So if that's grilling and smoking a brisket and watching it and, bathing it and, rewrapping in butcher paper
and butter.
Yeah. And butter and that to you, butter. If you're excited, I think to me, does it give you energy or take away energy? Do you get done and you're excited about it? I think you can do any of that on your rest day. I think you want to be done with your rest day and be excited about what you did, feel energetic, happy with the things that happen. And I just don't think as a society, we make scheduled moments in time as individuals and as families to put that into our schedule. I know we don't. Me and Alicia, we don't. We try to, but it's difficult to honor with everything we have doing to get a full wake up to bedtime day to do rest.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to try. Not necessarily the details of it, because they're all over the place, but how do we, with the schedules we have, make that so important to do?
Yeah. So before I answer that question, I want to go back and just talk about the research real quick. The research says green therapy. So you drive a car to a park and you sit at a bench or you hang a hammock. If you can get out by trees, if you can get out by a lake, if you can get out by water and you just sit, you're not going to run around the lake. You're not going to, do a kayak out. You're just going to sit. So it'd be difficult to run there and then relax because really you're just recovering from the workout you just did. So you'd have to drive there. And then your idea is to sit in green therapy. Okay. That is a absolute total rest recovery. The second one is meditation. And I posted that because meditation is the ability. So there's two types. One is like the monk meditation, Eastern medicine, Eastern religion, like that concept of like clear your mind. That doesn't work for Westerners. It's just impossible. There's no way, even I've been doing it for a long time, you can't do it. What I do is I focus on a scripture and I ask God to show me how I could fix something there. Or I focus on prayer for Valencia and I meditate on that. Or I listen to a worship song and I just repeat that in my head. So I'm focusing on that one concept of rest, for example. So for us, meditation is we focus on a specific thing and give God the glory. But meditation is also working. And that's where I posted meditate frequently, right? Or consistently is what the word was. They have a brain that is 7.5 years younger when they do a SPECT scan. So it literally helps you. And then according to the research, ginkgo biloba is one of the best things you can do to calm the brain. I don't sell supplements. I'm not marketing any. You just have to find one that's really good. That will really help you do the same thing. And then the other one that's researched, this is the third one, is heavy naps. So Stacy, is king.
Yeah.
Stacy is queen of what's called the cat nap. And she literally will just sleep on the couch or go in the bedroom. And she's like, I have to take a cat nap. And literally I'll watch the time and she'll be up in 18 to 22 minutes. And she'll say, I'm gonna take a 20-minute nap. At the most, she's 2 minutes off.
Yep.
Bruh, if I take a nap, I'm out cold for 2 hours and I wake up like a mad kid who didn't get snack.
I received that trait from mom. I try to take sometimes when Alicia lets me a 15 at 6:15. So at 6:15 at night, I just lean my head back, take a little snooze on the couch while the girls are running around rampant. If I get 7 to 15 minutes, I'm golden.
Wait, say that again.
15 at 6:15.
15 at 6:15. Uh-huh. So I'm not lying when I made you put your hands up when you were a preschooler. And because if you fell asleep in a 2-minute drive, 5 blocks from picking you up to going home, I made you ride like this because if you took a 5-minute slobber out the side of your mouth coming out of daycare because you were in preschool, you'd get home and you were on fire the whole night and wouldn't go to bed until midnight.
Wrong. You wanted to take a nap.
Mom text the chat.
That's not why you didn't let me nap. You didn't let me nap because when we got home, you wanted me to nap so you could nap.
If you took your 5-minute cat nap, you wouldn't sleep at bedtime.
No, I would sleep at bedtime. I wouldn't sleep during the nap time, which you and mom wanted a nap.
Okay, that might be true. I don't remember that detail. Like
that's true.
I'm gonna plead the fifth there, but that's know what true. I'm saying. Your 6:15 at 15 was even present when you was 5.
All right, let's hop into the comments here. Random fact, Cam said, I know, or random fact that he knows, because of daylight savings, heart attack rates increase by 20% and decrease by 20% when we fall back and then spring forward based on 1 hour of sleep or rest lost.
Correct. It's true because what happens
when we lose an hour, they increase in heart attack.
That's correct.
When we gain an hour, then they decrease.
Yeah, and the number one reason is people don't have the alarms right. I have that ascending alarm that's really, really soft, and it gets louder and louder and louder. People mostly start up here like wah wah wah, and it's like it's a jolt to the adrenal, so they stress themselves out.
Weird, because I can't wake up to the nice soft one. It just flows into my dream, and then it'll be like elevator music in a dream that I'm on. It's like 7 minutes later.
You're walking by like in your dream. You're walking like by by like some dude who's playing the guitar like on the corner for you. You throw him $5
every time.
You walk right past the alarm.
Yes, yeah. It's like 7 minutes. I'm waking up. My alarm is going off. I have to have that like.
Yeah, correct.
Carly said Isaiah 40:31. Wait on the Lord and to renew your strength.
Ooh, I like it. That's the renew. There we go.
I jotted down Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest.
Yes.
That's a whole nother podcast. I have a sermon written on rest, and it talks about this idea that rest really happens spiritually when you repent and come to God. But another time.
Yes. But see, that goes back to then your spiritual rest, if that's where you're at, if you're struggling with like, I'm not being fed.
Yeah, no, for me, like, my biggest thing is thinking, because my job's a lot of thinking, pondering, contemplating creatively, not just for the podcast, but also for youth group. And so my thing is to try to not think about any of that stuff. I don't necessarily get bombarded with emails, or, I mean, on my days off, I try not to respond to students' messages or emails about, upcoming events and stuff. But for me, it's not even to try to contemplate and think creatively where God is leading the group or pulling us. And so me and Alicia make sure we try to hold to that as much as possible, that if she starts to go down a path of like, hey, what do you think we should do for Wednesday night service, et cetera, I'm like, hey, hold, not today. Let's talk about that tomorrow. Are you frozen? Is he frozen? I think he's frozen. Anyways, I'll keep going. So he'll get kicked out and then he'll come back. So that's kind of where my rest day comes in. I know for some of you who have like a really heavy email flooded into your inbox, don't check your emails, don't return phone calls. It's that moment to there he goes. It's that moment to completely pull away from thinking and pondering about what.
There we go.
And you're back?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. For me, it's that moment to completely detach my mental thought process on what my work is, whatever that is. So I know Cam's here. He's, realtor selling houses, to detach yourself from even thinking about the process of the houses and do I need to order this and should I call the tile person? And, and to be able to do that is difficult. I know.
Yes.
And so that's, to me, regardless of what you do or don't do. I mean, I know that there's days where, like Alicia commented down here, organizing the girls' toys and clothes. We did that last Friday, and you would have thought we did the most fun thing she's ever done in her life. We got done with the day, and she was like, "Yes, oh, that felt awesome, woo!" And I was like, "What?" Like, I'm drained. That was not a restful day. That was annoying and organizing and throwing away. But to her, man, that was amazing. So that's rest to her. So that's more intentional to me, is not thinking about youth group, church, relationships moving forward. How I don't do that on my days off, whether I mow or hang out or chill. That's not as important to me. It's more that the mental capacity of contemplating and thinking creatively, forward thought on church.
Yeah. So let me pick up on something right there. So like for me, shooting archery, I've done it for years, like 20 years. So that is really relaxing to me because I don't have to go through steps. Like there's 10 steps before you can even launch the arrow. Right. I don't even think about those steps. I don't have to talk to myself. So it's so ingrained that it's relaxing, because you guys know that I call archery standing meditation, because I'm focused on one thing and I'm focusing on my breathing. So my breathing is something that just starts to happen naturally and calming down everything. So I drop my heart rate. I watch archery, my heart rate drops usually 20 to 30 points. It's nuts. So archery for me is relaxing because it's habitual. Now, if I took somebody to do archery, they'd be sweating like crazy because their whole entire brain is something new. So obviously that's really depends on you. But let's take away that work stuff, because like Alicia organizing, that's fun for her. It's natural for her. She's an organizer. For you, Tyler, who don't organize very much, that's stressful to you, right? Let's just take away activity for the moment, because I am honestly working towards Saturdays of not even shooting my bow, not even going on a ride, and literally taking that spiritual reboot. So that looks like, in the morning having a devotion, maybe, just kind of like thinking of a song, going away and reading the Bible a little bit, coming back, and just focus on literally, like Carly said, that renew it, renewing the mind. That's my clinic, the podcast. That renewal word is so important. So I really work on renewing how I communicate to Stacy, or renewing how I'm with Valencia, renewing how I show up at podcasts, like renewing. And I know it seems like work, but it's really not work. It's just that moment of like, let me think about it, and I put it down. I don't have to have an answer, because I'm just, what am I really bothered by? Put it down. It's called the brain dump, and then just leave it alone. Walk away from it. I promise you, in the next 2 or 3 days, your brain will pop an answer for you fast, because you let your mind go to work without stressing it to like pressure is not good for creativity.
Yep.
So I want people to get to one of two things. One, you're really resting by napping and literally sleeping to recover your physical health. Two, you're engaging in a spiritual engagement to grow your faith, to grow your relationship with God, to grow your spiritual growth piece. Three, you're connecting relationally. So watching a movie that your daughter wants to watch that you just like, why is this thing even on Netflix? Really? Like, how did this thing get past like all the people who are supposed to say, no, this shouldn't be a movie? Okay, but okay, I do it. And the reason is because you have to engage in intentionality of somebody else, or putting people, like your kids or something, in that family organization, put them into this intentionality of like, hey, this is our day. So when I teach this rest day at the clinic, I'll tell people like, hey, that day, Sunday, Saturday, Wednesday, whatever it is, I want you to think of that day as family first day. And I'll say a family fun day. So, Pastor Morris talked about family first. And so I always say family fun. So I'll say, this is a family fun day. So no emails, no work, nobody trumps your kids and your wife. And that's how I teach it. So if you just grab that concept of family first, right? Family fun day, that'll give you a great start. And for most of you who have businesses, CEOs, or like sales, that means no answering your phone calls. I know it's going to be hard because people like to get a jump on, leads and stuff like that on that rest day, but it doesn't help you rest, because as soon as you answer a call, pick it up, now your mind tells you have to deal with it. And then letting that go becomes what you're working on instead of being intentional with your family.
Okay.
Makes sense?
It. Yep. We got like 13 minutes left.
Okay.
Let's move to the next point, which really kind of struck me. I think it's a little shorter one, but definitely something that Robert Morris put words to something I have thought for 10 years now, being in full-time ministry. And I was never able to like articulate the feelings that I had about ministry. And so go watch the podcast, but he says that so many times today, people are very good with their time, but they're not good with their energy. So when someone asks us to do a task or asks us to volunteer to do anything, we say, do I have 3 hours to do that? Or do I have 45 minutes to put towards that? And then we answer it based on the time. And in reality, we need to answer it based on energy.
Yes.
Does this task have more energy, less energy? Am I standing, thinking, and moving? What does that look like? And I've always said in ministry, and there's a lot of occupations that are like this, so I'm not saying ministry is the only one that's like this, but it has like a 3-prong approach every Wednesday night when I'm in youth group. I'm cognitively thinking about when I'm either preaching, or let's just go in the lobby, I'm cognitively in communication with people. And then while I'm talking and just communicating, I'm also making sure that my face is expressing that I'm very into it. I'm dumping energy into this person, into this conversation. And then I'm trying to spiritually also discern what the Holy Spirit is asking me to say, to speak, to hug, to high five. And so it's like all of these things are coming together, and it's mental, it's physical, it's thinking, it's cognitive, it's spiritual. And at the end of the day, those 3 or 4 hours on a Wednesday night, they energize me, but at the same time, they're exhausting. So we have a intern with us, Brooklyn Bacon, and the first Wednesday night service got done. We talked for a half hour with some students, and she was like, I have to go home. She's like, I'm exhausted. She's like, I wasn't anticipating it being this exhausting, And I was like, man, it was 3 hours, but that 3 hours is so guns blazing on all levels that it's difficult. And then Chad Veach brought up Matthew 9, where a man came to Jesus and said, my daughter is sick. Can you follow me and go heal my daughter? Verse 19 says, and Jesus rose and followed him with his disciples. And behold, a woman who suffered from discharge of blood for 12 years came up behind him and touched the fringe or the hem of his garment. For she said to herself, if I only touch his garment, I will be made well. Jesus turned and seeing her said, take heart, daughter, your faith has made you well. And Chad Veach mentioned that the idea that his garment was being touched by hundreds, if not thousands of people, but why did in that moment he know his hem was touched? Well, because energy left his body, the power of the Holy Spirit left. And that is different than just being touched and bumped and moved. And so that concept was like, that was mind boggling to me, because me and Alicia have the same thing. Like we'll go to a church conference and it'll be a 5-hour day and I'm just worn. I'm emotionally worn, wiped out. It's like, that's so much more exhausting. I was telling Paul and Carly watched the podcast, and she said same thing with teachers. They're on their feet all day, so it's physical.
Yeah.
They're emotionally trying to engage students. Then they're cognitively thinking about if they're saying what they're supposed to be saying, the lesson plans, disciplining, watching, and it's like same type of thing. There's a lot of occupations that are that way, but to think about not only time but also energy is a thing that I haven't heard articulated like that before.
Yeah. So, and we've talked about this, but when Jesus talks about that, like that's power, that's spiritual energy. Right. So the Bible talks about you receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you. So we are vessels of power, and Jesus felt the spiritual power leave him, which is energy. Okay. When you and Carly are talking about that emotional energy in your work, you're carrying the emotional tone. So in sports, the coach will pound you, hit your chest, like, you got to set the tone. You got to hit first, right? You got to bring the game to them. Like, this is the concept of like, you have to set the tone. That's why it's emotionally in football so up and down, because you carry the emotional tone. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. The last piece then is the mental thing. And this is where Brooklyn Bacon comes in. Because like she's used to physically working, like on her feet as a waitress or, whatever job she's been doing, you're physically moving, right? As a pastor, or like for me sitting in a chair, I don't use any physical energy very much. It's all mental, because I've got all these templates in my head that I'm pushing out or coaching or teaching, and I'm integrating, science with somebody's emotion. That's mental energy. And I was talking to a pastor at a different church, and he was just asking me like how you deal with some kids, just an informal conversation at someone else's house. And I mentioned to him once, I just said, dude, some of those things that you're talking about isn't worth your mental energy. And he just froze like he saw a ghost. And he was like, wait, what? Say that again. And I'm like, that's not worth your mental energy. And he goes, define that. And I just said, dude, so when somebody gives you a problem that you cannot control, you're wasting so much mental energy problem solving for nothing, because you don't control the variables. If you don't, so you might call it speculating, like you're just speculating. Okay. You waste so much mental energy on like, dude, if I was Timmy, I would do this and do this and do this. And then if Timmy talked to Jody and Jody does this, then I would say to her, and I'm like, bro, that's not even worth your mental energy. So I don't remember how much, it was a couple months later, he texted me and he was like, dude, so many people are blown away by this mental energy concept. It's not mine. I read it. Like, you have to protect your mental energy. Okay. Because so when people talk about good vibes, you see t-shirts like, hey, I'm vibing, good vibes. Why do people go in a restaurant, sit down, and somebody would just come to you and be like, here's your water, your waitress will be with you in a second. And people are like, bro, that dude he got bad vibe. I got bad vibes from that dude. Sure. Like, why? How? It's just that quick, right? That's that mental energy, that force field that kind of hits you. So you're 100% correct. We don't manage time. We invest time. So if you can manage your emotions, you manage your mentals, manage your energy, then we can invest time in the right way, the right area. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I think the other thing I thought about when I was listening to the podcast is like, every time I go to deal with someone that's in customer service or dealing with people multiple times throughout a long period of time, what's the one thing in common that they all have? They're all rude.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say they all. A lot of the time they're rude. They're short. How can I help you? What's up? What do you want? It's like, think about them though. They're physically on their feet all day.
Yes.
Right. Then every next person coming up, they have to have the solution to that person's problem. So they're getting their emotion, their energy of negativity or anger dumped on them. And then they're having to fire up their emotion to match, set the tone. Hey, I'm so happy. Sorry for your, return, whatever, the hole in the jeans. Oh, we definitely can take. They can't do that over and 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 over again.
Yes, correct.
Like Marshawn Lynch said, and over and over and over and over and over and over.
And like the internet wins, and you see him like jumping a hurdle like over the moon, and over and over.
Yeah. Oh, true. Mom said Teresa is never rude. That's why I didn't say I took back my all statement and said majority of.
Mm-hmm.
But that's exhausting.
But we all pass, right? Who are that way. But to your point, Stacy, will barter with me to like owe me a favor if I run to customer service or return something of hers, because she doesn't like dealing with the customer service people.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah.
Cameron said booting up with the bros is my rest time, which means playing video games.
Yeah. See, who's not very good. Somebody's not very good. That'd be stressful, right? But if you're good, that's like just routine, just mindless. Bro, you make out your mic right now? Are you
soon? Okay? I'm using it to support my crying shoulder. I'm using it as a crying shoulder.
Hey, I'll get you on archery. Cam should buy a bow.
I've been talking to him about buying bows for years. He keeps talking about it. He keeps buying ARs.
Yep, those are fun. Guns are fun, but bro, they do not touch archery. I swear to you.
No, because you can go back and get your bullet, aka the arrow.
Dude, it's so fun.
All right, that's all I had for this one. Comments look like everyone's either agreeing with us, not paying attention, or disagreeing. Don't want to argue back and forth. But
they're checking out, protecting their energy.
One of the two. But I mean, as we leave, I think you wrapped up your nugget. Just to reiterate, find a way to rest, whether that's emotional, relational, physical, spiritual.
Define an area.
Yep. Define an area and figure out what that is, what that looks like. From my end, it's rest. Rest can be multiple things, but I think the main thing that every one of us can do is detach from work, whatever that looks like. I think that's a super easy starting point. Like you said, no emails, no phone calls. For me, it's not even thinking about, for instance, on Saturday morning, we'll be cooking eggs and Lisa will be like, hey, what about next week's trip? Not today. Let's not even go down that path. Yeah. And then this energy idea was something that I've said for a long time, that it's so much different. I did a workout last time I preached for both services, and I burned like 950 calories per service.
Oh yeah. That's exactly correct.
So
that's where I got the idea to try to monitor mowing.
Yeah. And so, that's just, it's so much different, and pastoral ministry is not the only occupation that's like that. So make sure that we are not only protecting our time as in hours, but also the energy. We talk about relationships that are just mentally exhausting, whether that's family, whether that's friends or coworkers. If you're in a relationship like that with someone or a friend that you don't feel energized by hanging out with, you need to really question that relationship. And I think that's where that comes to. For me as a pastor, I know that there's relationships that I'm going to give everything to, and I'm going to leave exhausted. But that's not that's me mentoring or investing in. But that's not how my rest relationship should be, right? So,
yes, correct.
Couple recap takeaways. Any last final thought? I think we hit them all.
My final thought is this: be 100% intentional. 100% intentional on your Sabbath or your rest day. So that way, exactly what you're doing, so that you can the next day evaluate the question. And the question is like, how am I feeling? So when we did our 12-2 nonprofit archery day with Youth for Christ, we took kids. Ty's going to get the video out. We took kids archery shooting who've never shot, and we're trying to get them to put their bow on their toes and look at the target and just do 3 deep breaths. First couple of times, nobody did it. They just, toward the end, Tyler caught a picture where like 3 or 4 dudes are just sitting here with their eyes closed. Man, that makes me cry. Just sitting there with their eyes closed, and they're looking at the target. And they're just sitting here and they're just breathing like that. Yeah. That's the intentionality of it. Rochelle Rawson, who their mentors and runs it, it's just like, it's so dope, dude. And then she texted 2 days later and she was like, bro, their self-confidence was on an all-time high for 2 days. She's like, just let me know, we're in. Right. Yep. Anytime they want to come. And that's the whole concept of that, renewing your mind, but you have to be intentional about where you're looking to get a rest day, so that in the next couple of days, you look back, ask the question, how did I do? How am I feeling? If it's working, keep going down that road. If it doesn't, like, dude, that day didn't even work, then reboot it next time. You got to go back and re-engineer that system so you can dial in your rest for you and your family. But your key word for me is intentionality. Be intentional.
Sweet. Perfect. All right. Last thoughts. Let me check the comments just to make sure we're good to go. Okay. We're good. Well, hey, as always, renew your perspective, move towards uncertainty, and find what's awesome about that in every situation.
Yes,
and don't forget, There's 2 times to be great. When you feel like it and when you don't. We love you.
Peace.
I had to realize what's inside of me. For all of the people that lied to me. For all of the people that said I would fall off. Oh, boy, what a time to be alive. I wrote this for everyone, feel like they counted out. You need to look in the mirror and tell yourself it's time to be who I am now. Greatness.